Have you ever wondered about the difference between being alone because you like it and being alone because you have no one? At first, they might look the same. A person sitting quietly, spending time by themselves, maybe watching a movie or walking through a park. But inside, the feelings can be completely different. One comes from peace, the other from pain. Let's start with those who choose to be alone. These people often find comfort in solitude. It's not about rejecting others. It's about reconnecting with themselves. When life feels loud and demanding, being alone becomes a form of rest. Psychologically, solitude gives the brain space to recover. When you're constantly surrounded by people, your mind is always reading emotions, tones, and social cues. But when you're alone, your nervous system finally relaxes. Your heartbeat slows, your thoughts organize, and you start hearing your own voice again. People who love solitude often say, "I feel most like myself when I'm alone." It's not because they dislike love or friendship, but because they've learned to enjoy their own company. In a world that tells us we must always be connected, choosing to be alone is an act of quiet strength. But for others, being alone doesn't feel peaceful, it feels heavy. You don't choose it, it chooses you. The silence feels longer, the room feels colder, and the things you used to enjoy don't seem to fill the emptiness anymore. You scroll through your phone, not because you want to, but because you want to feel something. Psychologically, loneliness and solitude activate different parts of the brain. Solitude calms the mind, but loneliness triggers the same pain centers as physical injury. Your body reacts to isolation like it's a wound. Heart rate increases, cortisol rises, and your brain quietly whispers, "You're not safe." That's why loneliness hurts so much. It's not just emotional, it's biological. Humans were built to connect, to feel seen, to belong. And yet, here's the truth. Both kinds of aloneness have meaning. Being alone by choice teaches you independence, peace, and clarity. It reminds you that love should be a choice, not a need. Being alone because you have no one teaches you empathy, depth, and the courage to face yourself. It reveals the parts of you that only show up in silence. The raw, unfiltered you that doesn't need to perform for anyone. It's also possible that life moves between both states. Sometimes you enjoy being alone, but other times the same solitude turns into loneliness. The line between the two isn't fixed. It shifts depending on your emotional state. You might love solitude when your heart feels full, but dread it when your heart feels empty. And that's okay. It means you're human. Because both peace and longing exist inside us, sometimes at the same time. In reality, people who love being alone are often misunderstood. Others might think they're distant, or that they've closed their heart to love. But many of them have simply learned that their happiness no longer depends on external validation. They find meaning in stillness, in small moments, morning light through the window, a good cup of coffee, a quiet evening with music. They've realized that peace doesn't always come from company. Sometimes it comes from silence. On the other hand, people who fear being alone are not weak either. They just crave connection. They understand that love, laughter, and human warmth give life texture. They feel alive through sharing, through presence, through touch. They're the kind of people who give meaning to togetherness, who remind the world that we're not meant to face everything alone. So maybe the question isn't which one is better, but what your heart needs right now. Sometimes, healing requires solitude, stepping back from everyone to hear what your own soul is trying to say. And sometimes, healing requires closeness, reaching out, holding someone's hand, and saying, "I don't want to face this alone." Neither path is wrong. Both are forms of love, one for yourself, one for the world around you. Because at the end of the day, being alone, whether by choice or by circumstance, always teaches you something about what it means to be human. It shows you where your peace lives and where your pain hides. And once you understand that, you can finally choose solitude not as a prison, but as a home. So tell me, which kind of being alone are you living right now? Are you alone because you enjoy it, or because you don't have anyone at the moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe your story will remind someone that being alone isn't always emptiness. Sometimes, it's the first quiet step toward finding yourself again.